Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Thursday night. With us today is Andrew McCarthy. He's a former assistant United States attorney, and one good friend, one smart guy, and he's now a columnist also for the National Review. There's so many things going on, Andrew, and I don't know where to start. I was talking to Rita before, and Rita says Andrew has great experience with dealing with the prosecution of some of these characters that are creating problems in the world. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, John. I think where it comes up is Iran, because of obviously the war that we're in at the moment. There's a tenuous ceasefire, of course, but I think one of the big problems that we have with the government when all of these things come up is we don't focus enough on what the ideology of our enemies is, and it's important to do that because you can't really predict. Can you imagine trying to fight World War II without understanding, Shinto ideology or Nazi ideology? You need to understand the enemy in order to fight the enemy effectively. And I think back in the mid-'90s, after the World Trade Center was bombed, we were able in the courtroom to communicate to the jury that there were these scriptural injunctions in the Quran and other Muslim scripture, that they were mediated to young Muslim men by people like the blind sheikh in our case, but also, the likes of bin Laden and Ayatollah Khomeini, the names as we've gone down the decades. And what ends up happening is that some percentage of these young men will move on to jihadist violence, and that's happened again and again and again. So I think we have to recognize with respect to Iran that we're dealing with a revolutionary jihadist entity, a jihadist regime. It's from the Shiite perspective, not the Sunni perspective, but vis-a-vis the United States, it doesn't make any difference because they regard us as the main enemy. And I guess what probably drives me the craziest with all of this stuff is the suggestion that we're kind of the cat's paw of Israel, and Israel's the problem behind all this, when in point of fact, as far as Iran has always been concerned, just like as far as Al-Qaeda was always concerned, the main enemy in the world is the United States. That's why they call us the Great Satan. That's why they've been attacking Americans for half a century.
Now, in your educated opinion, and you've experienced this much more than anybody in our audience, is there a solution, or are we headed for I hate to say it, the crusade of 2100?
I think the solution is that we just have to take them as we find them, and not as we like them, as we would like them to be. If you look at just what we've done in the last 5 weeks, I don't think there's a military in the world that can conceivably match what the United States is capable of doing. In just 5 weeks' time, we've taken this regime and set back their ballistic missile program, years and years. Their nuclear program, it would be near impossible at this moment for them to start that up again. So I don't think we're not in a situation, we have much more formidable geopolitical rivals like China and Russia to worry about. I'm not worried that fundamentalist Islam is going to be like a Cold War type global challenge to us. As long as we take it seriously and take sensible precautions, it's a very containable threat.
Now, Andy, in your opinion, does Russia and China have new respect for the United States armed forces?
Well, I think they have to if they're not crazy. From what I understand, I don't pretend to be a military expert, but I have done a little military legal work, and I've done some national security stuff over the years, and I would say that, just based on the press reporting that we all see, it was China and Russia who provided defensive arms not only to the Iranians but also to Venezuela, particularly air defenses, and those were completely ineffective on the battlefield against the United States. To have a situation, I think somebody who knows a lot more about this stuff than I do, John, said that we flew 13,000 sorties in Iran and suffered, I think, 2 planes being taken down by anything other than, friendly fire mishaps. That's phenomenal. There's nothing that's ever happened like that in the history of air warfare. And obviously, given that these countries, Iran in particular, had the protection, or what they thought was the protection, of air defense systems that were designed by the Russians, and missile technology that was sourced to China, and it turned out to be totally ineffective. Obviously, I think they have to sit up and notice that.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew McCarthy, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you've done for our country and continue to speak out for our country. And let's talk again real soon.
Thanks, John.